I'll call this meeting of the Oxford Historic Preservation Commission to order. Is there a motion that we approve the agenda that we have all received?
Also moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on March 17. We've received those, and I assume everyone has had an opportunity to read those. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as presented? If not, is there a motion that we approve the minutes from March 17?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have a staff report today?
I have a couple of things. So first I want to introduce everybody to James Hirsch, who's our newest planner. He's been with us a couple weeks now, and he'll be at all the meetings moving forward.
Would you say his name again, please?
James, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, all, my name is James Hirsch. Glad to be here.
James, welcome.
James went to Ole Miss and was working at the university, and we convinced him to come work here.
Welcome. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Second item is we've put the design guidelines on the city website in a new format. It's in a program called Flipping Book, and it's all clickable, so it should be much more accessible to use, and you can find it where the design guidelines were linked previously on our city website. But you can flip through it like an actual book or click on any of the links, and it'll take you to that section. So that's just something to note if you guys are looking through the guidelines for anything. We usually call out the page numbers in your staff report, but anyway, it's another way to access it. And then lastly, Judy Daniel is here, who many of you guys know. I'm going to be going on maternity leave at the end of June or early July, and Judy is going to be filling in for me. So she is here soaking it all in. She used to run our department, so she's very well versed in how it works. But she's just getting back up to speed. Yeah.
Hello, this is great.
Judy, welcome back.
Thank you, Jack.
You trained a number of us on this commission, so I hope we're still up to snuff. We'll see. We're happy that you'll be coming back, and congratulations, Kate.
Thank you.
That's great news. Happy for you and your husband.
Thanks. So that's the update for me. So we can.
And congratulations on the final status of the new guidelines.
Oh, thanks.
I know that's been a long labor. I don't know that I know any details of when the Board of Aldermen considered it. Were there any issues there?
No, we also updated the ordinance in association with the guidelines, which you guys saw a lot of that as well. And we took it through ordinance review committee and the Board of Aldermen, and it was pretty smooth sailing. We finished that up in January. And so as you guys know, we've been using those guidelines since then, but we just got the new Flipping Book software this month and got it up on the website. So we're hoping to just make it easier to use. So
Well, I think they're improved, so thanks for all your hard work.
thank you.
Next section on the agenda is administrative approvals. There are 3. Does any commissioner have any questions about any of those administrative approvals? If not, we'll move into public hearings. The first is case 819, a COA requested by Ryan Walker. I believe the architect is J.D. Caldwell for exterior renovations and additions to 619 Van Buren Avenue.
Thanks.
Kate?
So the applicant seeks approval of a proposal for the existing house, new additions, a new garage, and a new pool. This plan was considered on a complimentary basis at our February meeting, and several changes have been made since then, which I'm sure you saw reflected in the plans. The existing building, known as the Theora Hamlet House, is described in the Historic Resources Inventory Survey as 1.5 story, 5-bay frame gable and wing cottage with Italianate and Gothic Revival influences, built circa 1872 and altered circa 1930. The applicant received 2 variances from the Planning Commission related to this project, a retaining wall variance in January of 2025, and a variance to allow for more bedrooms at the April 2025 meeting. The applicant provided a detailed narrative, which was attached with your packet. At the time of the complimentary review, a major concern of the commission was the location of the new garage building, which has been pushed back significantly and now sits behind the rear building line of the original house and flush with the proposed new addition. Other concerns by the commission at that prior hearing were mostly related to the size and scale of the new addition. New additions to historic buildings are evaluated based on the Oxford Design Guidelines, using the principles of compatibility for setback and lot coverage, orientation, scale, proportion, rhythm, massing, height, materials, color, roof shape, details and ornamentation, and landscape features. The proposed design takes most of these considerations into account. The use of a hyphen or connector as proposed is recommended in the guidelines, and it's not difficult to distinguish between what is old and what is new. The proposed changes will not affect the orientation of the contributing resource towards Van Buren Avenue, and the proposal meets the requirements for setback and lot coverage. The proposed roof shapes, materials, color, and details and ornamentation are compatible with the Hamlet House without directly replicating the historic building. The new design takes cues from existing in materials and ornamentation, but is simpler and more stripped back, which meet the recommendations of the guidelines. The proposed massing, height, and scale are more at issue in the proposed design. The design does meet the recommendations that rear additions are more appropriate than side additions, and that the design of new additions should be clearly differentiated, as well as the recommendation that the most successful way to add an addition to a historic building is to build a small hyphen or connector. However, the design guidelines also recommend to design the size and height of an addition to be subordinate to that of the historic building. Should the footprint of the new addition exceed 50% of the historical portion of the building, the commission shall evaluate the new design carefully in the context of the design guidelines recommendations related to scale, massing, rhythm, and proportion of the new additions. According to the applicant's architect, the square footage of the existing house is 2,935 square feet, and the square footage of the new addition is 3,586 square feet. The height of the new addition will sit 2 feet below the ridge of the existing building line. Regarding the proposed garage and pool and other site work, the design guidelines recommend to design new outbuildings to complement rather than detract from historic buildings by following the guidelines for residential new additions and new construction. Staff finds that the design of the new outbuilding is successful according to those principles in the guidelines. The side gable roof is a familiar form in the district and is compatible with the form of the existing house. The building is appropriately set back from the main house and is attached by a breezeway to the new addition. The new building does not directly replicate the features and ornamentation of the main structure. So staff recommends that the commission must evaluate the design carefully, and in particular, the size and height of the proposed addition. Should the commission find that the proposal is acceptable in those aspects, staff is recommending approval of the COA as proposed. And JD Caldwell is here on behalf of the applicant. Would you like to present? Or should we, yeah.
Yeah, if you'd come forward, I think that would be appropriate.
And I can go to any page that you need.
And again, for the record, if you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm JD Caldwell. I'm an architect and helping Ryan and Chelsea Walker with their project.
We're glad to have you back, and appreciate what we're being presented with. We appreciated the opportunity to have the complimentary meeting with you to discuss details about your proposal. You know, this is a really significant structure in Oxford and for this commission for a number of reasons. The significance of the architecture of the house, the location of the house in a historic district, the fact that Theodore Hamlet was a resident of the house for a number of years. And I think another huge factor for us has been the condition of the house and the situation that this commission and the staff had worked with for a number of years, actually, to get us to this point. So I think we're all really pleased to be here. So first, and again, I think this was said at the last meeting, We really do appreciate the good work that has been done to this point and the professionalism and effort that you and the homeowner have made to restore the original house. Today, we're considering things that you want to do, the garage and the addition to the house. At our last meeting, we focused on those aspects. The garage and the location of it, I think you all recognize to have been a significant concern for us. And I love some verbiage you used. I don't know whether it was ours to start with, but it's a great phrase, the hierarchy of importance between the garage and the original house. And I think you've done an admirable job moving it significantly back where the hierarchy of importance is much more clearly established.
Okay.
And finding a place for those things. So today, of course, we'll all hopefully have comments and thoughts that we'll share. I would just lead with a question. We did register concern about the size of the addition. Our recent guidelines that are now public and official state a desire for an addition not to exceed 50% of the footprint or square footage of the original structure. Your proposed expansion is more than 120%.
Correct.
So that is an issue that is of significance. So sort of having laid those things out, let me stop talking and welcome comments from our commissioners.
Well, actually, I'm quite pleased with how you have worked with us on our concerns. And I think you've addressed two of them very well. The expansion of it is one detail that we will struggle with. However, because of the location of the house and the fact that whatever is done is not really seen from either street, Jackson or Van Buren, it makes it easier for us, I think, to go along with this based on the fact that we are very appreciative of the house being saved and restored, because it is a place of prominence in the community. So we are happy about that. Whether this commission decides to approve the addition that you have so late, we'll decide that tonight. But I do think because of the way it's addressed, when you cannot see it, only adds to the fact that, you know, it stands a good chance of being approved.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other comments, because this is, I think the size of the addition, the consideration is compounded again because we have just recently made our thinking known publicly and legally with the 50%. So I think it's an appropriate time to hear from all of you, if that's possible, to kind of weigh in on this, because it's important. It's an important decision.
It is important. It's almost like opening Pandora's box. You get out this rule and then we try and circumvent it.
Right.
you know, these are things that will weigh heavily with us in making this decision. It wouldn't be because we don't approve of the situation, it's just we've been given you guidelines, and now we're considering skirting around it.
Sure.
We don't, we are aware that decisions we make aren't legal precedents. But nevertheless, decisions we make are decisions we make that become part of our process.
They're certainly not legal precedents, but I think for us as commissioners, we have to set a precedent. And if, whatever that looks like, right? Like, if we set this precedent that we approve this tonight, then what sets the precedent for the next person who comes and adds 150% more onto their home? And but there are always nuances, which you've mentioned, Diane. So I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just saying we're making our,
Pandora's box.
Yeah. Well, and in comment section that we have, I personally just benefit from hearing, thinking, just like you've just expressed. It's helpful to me in making a decision before I do vote. So, again, I'd like to hear other comments, please.
Specifically on the location of this house, it is right across the street from some huge buildings. And it is, if this was on the backs, you know, on the back street of a quiet neighborhood and it's on the corner and you can see it, that's something different than being next to some large public buildings that you can't even see the addition. And that is, you know, one of the important things I think that we're looking for is how does the addition or the change affect what you see from the street?
Yeah.
And this doesn't change anything you see from the street.
Good point.
And I do think it's a case-by-case basis.
That's right.
There's very few lots in downtown Oxford that are this large, and that can hold an addition of this size. And it still meets, you know, the lot coverage and the setbacks and that kind of thing as well. And while I'm not crazy about the size, I do think the addition is all the requirements that we passed up on.
And to Diana's point, it's not as if it's on North Lamar in your point too. You know, where if someone did an addition like that, it would be highly visible, you know. I also like that it's, 2 feet lower,
It is. Yeah.
so that really helps.
Well, if you walk the property to the backyard, it really wouldn't interfere with anything.
Any other comments? For me, the fact that it's really not visible from the street or the sidewalk is a big factor. Ironically, I'm glad people won't have this view that we have right here.
The bird's eye view.
You know, it's great that architectural software can do that sort of thing, but when I looked at it the first time, I thought, thank goodness, you'd have to be a bird to see this, the next view. Well, Kate, are there any conditions associated with this COA from the staff?
No, I didn't recommend any, no.
Okay. So, it's a straight-up question. As presented in the drawings that we are looking at and that we have received and have had time to study, this would be for a motion that would approve the garage as it is the location as it is presented here, move to the north of the lot. I'm just curious, one other question, did you make any change to the size of the addition since the complimentary meeting?
We did take a look at the size and what we could do, especially reusing more of the existing house if we could. The problem was it didn't meet the requirements of what the client needs and wants. But we did go through that exercise to see if we could get some of that square footage down. But it was very difficult. Compressing the garage back and reducing all that, and trying to make it invisible, more or less. The way I was reading the text, it was a case by case. You know, obviously, if you can do it under 50% addition, we would do that.
Yeah.
There was no way we could make the large family fit in it with the requirements. So that's why we came to y'all, is to say, all right, we're trying to meet every requirement that we possibly can. Are we doing what the intent was? So
We appreciate your position. Well, back to the moment. This is a COA for new construction of a garage pool, and an addition to the original structure as we see it presented to us. I would say that we indeed look at each case by case, and on the surface, an expansion of this magnitude in perhaps any other situation I can imagine, I could not support it. But since this is virtually not visible from the street, I can understand an exception. So is there a motion to approve COA 819 as presented?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? By the same sign? The COA is approved.
thank y'all.
Thank you. Next case is number 820, COA requested by the Reynolds family for new constructions of an accessory structure located at 1501 Van Buren Avenue.
Okay. The applicant seeks approval to install a new carport and greenhouse, which will also include storage. Plans also include site work, including new retaining walls and other hardscaping. 1501 Van Buren Avenue is listed as contributing in the North Lamar Historic District and is described as circa 1925, one-story, four-bay frame with weatherboard craftsman bungalow. No changes are proposed to the existing contributing structure. So I broke it down in your staff report about the new outbuilding versus the site work. So for the new outbuilding, the applicant proposes a new one-story carport with an attached greenhouse and storage area. The design guidelines recommend that new outbuildings should reflect the character of the historic property, that they should be secondary in prominence to the principal historic building on the site, which is accomplished with this design. The new building is set back behind the footprint of the house and will not be highly visible due to the nature of the lot, as the house sits up on a hill as compared to the street. The proposed materials, hardy siding, asphalt shingle, etc., are appropriate for the site and in the context of the historic district. And then in terms of the other site work, proposed plans include new retaining walls on the northeast and southwest sides of the property, a new labyrinthine seat wall in the rear yard, a new rear brick patio adjacent to the proposed carport building, and a new patio and stairs at the front of the building. So since, I will note that since The plans were uploaded online. I've spoken with Brantley, who's the applicant's landscape architect, and I was recommending in this report that the front walk and stair be concrete rather than brick, just due to the vernacular style of the house, and they've agreed to do that instead of the proposed brick. So that's going to differ a little bit from your staff report. Let's see. Staff recommends that the commission include a condition on any approval that the location of the new entry stair and sidewalk be delegated to staff approval. We're still working out the easement with the church next door and what that means for the property owner in terms of its location, but the proposed style and concrete do meet the recommendations of the design guidelines. Similarly, staff recommends that the commission include a condition on any approval that retaining wall approval is delegated to staff. We have a plan since this report specifying the heights, which the heights for the two proposed retaining walls will be under 3 feet. But the retaining wall in the northeast corner is quite close to the property line, and staff has concerns about both an easement with the neighbor to construct and maintain that wall, as well as any drainage associated with that new wall and whether it will drain, how it will drain onto the applicant's property. So while these are not direct concerns of the commission, the proposed materials and locations of the walls are acceptable according to the design guidelines. Staff is requesting that commission delegate that final approval to staff in case small adjustments are needed to the plans. So that was kind of confusing because some things have changed since I posted the report, but the bottom line is that staff believes that the proposed design, materials, and plan for the greenhouse and the site work are appropriate. It's more that we have some smaller details to work out in terms of easements with a neighbor for construction and also that front walk. So that's why you're going to see those two commissions on our recommended approval.
I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
About the history of the house. Basically, we have dealt with this house before, have we not?
Yeah, it predates me working here, but I do believe that this house was the subject of a demolition by neglect case in maybe 2000 and I'm not sure when.
Demolition by neglect.
Yeah. So the property owner was required to fix it up to a certain standard.
And so my other question
This is a new property owner.
Is this a primary, will be or is a primary residence? Okay.
I figured it was with the greenhouse.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that a greenhouse would be a really nice asset for renters. You got to be really selective to make sure they'll water your plants. Thank you.
Sure.
Kate.
And yeah, I'm sure Brantley would be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Right, we're glad to have you with us. Thank you for coming.
Well, okay, I saw them on my computer. And then I know.
Do any commissioners have questions about?
Could I address y'all very quickly?
Sure, you're welcome to.
I'm sorry.
Nothing like a proud homeowner.
Oh, man, what are you doing? Hi, I'm Bruce Reynolds, and yes, it is my primary residence now. And when we started off, I thought it was 1935. Did you say 1925? That's cool. So we are officially a centurion now, 100 years old. But when I initially saw it, we were going to take the old lady that we got and try to make her into a grand old lady. And then I moved in there, and I have Sigma News on my left and have the Phi Delts on my right in the rental houses. And
It's a good neighborhood, huh?
Ooh, let me tell you. I do have earplugs also. But the great thing is the kids are wonderful. I've really bonded well with them. But instead of putting, an old garage back there, what we decided we're really going to do is put a 3-story dwelling and just pack as many of those kids in there as we can, the weekends. And we're going to pay for it with the beer cans that we get from there. Excuse me. I used to do what you guys are doing for 35 years. I got my planning degree here at Ole Miss back before they got rid of the program. But I do want to say that I want to bring her back to grand old style there. I'd love for this to happen. Maybe somebody see that it can happen to a rental unit next to me and they're able to do maybe the same thing and try to have a really cool neighborhood down there. maybe a little less quiet, but anyway, I will probably be appearing before you guys in the future, and, what y'all recommend, that's what we're gonna do, because we want to do the right thing, we really do, and looking forward to it, and Brantley has had some great ideas. We've talked with Matt, the arborist, about trees, and, when we got there, it was nothing but privet and beer cans. Privet and beer cans everywhere, and so I'm still pulling up the privet, and but we have I think a grand plan that will make it look good. So whatever you guys decide, that's what we're going to do, because we want to do the right thing. Okay.
Thank you for coming, and good for you.
Yeah, any questions?
Good for you. This house is, just in my relatively short stint here, this house has come a long way.
Well, let me tell you, my daughter has stories about that house. All of her friends have stories about that house and the one next to it that we're not going to go into today. But it's historic in more ways than one, trust me. Thank you, Al.
Thank you. Well, just not anything I think that we like better than to see somebody with the enthusiasm and commitment that you folks obviously have to buy and do all the right things to a historic property. Is there a motion or a conversation before that? I'm sorry. Anybody have any comments about the house? If not, is there a motion that we approve the COA as presented with the conditions, and it sounds like those have been
Yeah, we'll get it worked out.
addressed. Yeah. So is there a motion to approve COA 820?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Is there further conversation or comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? The COA is approved. Move forward. That is all of the cases that we have on our agenda. Is there any other business from any commissioner or staff that we should consider?
So not to go back to the whole 50% addition thing, but you'll know when you read that section, there was a lot of discussion, especially in the Courthouse Square Commission, about leaving some flexibility there and not putting a straight 50%. It can't be more than 50% of the footprint. So I don't necessarily think that a precedent is set by going over that.
Yeah. Well, and
It was worded in a way.
no,
You guys used it exactly how I thought you would.
It's worded where it's not an absolute.
Right.
It's a consideration.
So just,
But before that, there was none. So that's a good starting point.
And if you remember Chairman Paval, that was one of his concerns is
yeah.
that
How are we gonna
that
get-
it was too restrictive and how are we going to get meaningful additions to it? But then that's where we relaxed that language a little bit to make a little bit.
His
of
concern,
discretion.
I was at that meeting, it sounded like he was concerned that it wouldn't be worth the investment for a buyer to buy a small house with only a 50% expansion, and people in his profession would be limiting their opportunity for business. So,
But this is, I mean, as you guys pointed out, this is one of the largest lots. It's larger than what we typically see. And so this is exactly what I think that extra room leeway was meant for, so.
well, and as has been said a number of times this afternoon, we look at properties case by case.
Right.
Very much so, and I think y'all did the right thing of laying out the uniqueness of this circumstance by talking about the properties that are across the street, the size of this particular lot, why this is different. So then that way, if you have somebody that points to this and say, well, you allowed it for them, you can say, well, sure, different set of scenarios.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted us to talk about it as much as we could, instead of just a up and down vote, because we need to establish the uniqueness of the situation.
Thank you for that.
Great.
If there's no other business, is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. We're adjourned.
Thank you all.